We're Embrace the Suck 21.
Yes, we are.
I'm still Spencer.
I remain Daniel.
It is time for another long documentary. This week we are doing Live Forever, the rise and fall of Britpop. Now,
What's Britpop?
I mean, it's not like we started the whole channel by reviewing Britpop bands, was it?
What? Man.
I don't know, man. I don't know. No matter what, I think we can agree we need a palate cleanser from last week's doc.
Ooh, 100%. Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
Something that we know is not only, the roots of what we started this channel with, but also something positive, something uplifting.
Well, hopefully it's uplifting.
I want to acknowledge in the comments how we pick these documentaries is we put a poll up on Patreon every 2 weeks. People can vote on them. And initially we had the BBC 4 documentary on Britpop in there, but someone showed this to us and it was a bit longer and was like, all right, we're going to dive into this one. We're going to learn it a little bit more. And the beginning one, a lot of people commented, said that it talks more about how Suede got a lot of this stuff started in Britpop, and this doc really doesn't do that. I just wanted to get that out there.
Okay.
And we'll more than likely look at it on our own time. But this one we're going to see with y'all. You ready to go in, Dan?
Yeah, man. I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, nothing.
Turn around to people and said,
"Hey,
we're fucking brilliant. You'll either listen to us or fuck off."
And their attitude was, "Oh, fuck that! Come on!" And that were right at the time because there wasn't anything.
I think a lot of young people had accepted conservative rule and dole culture and daytime telly and smoking spliff for a living and going to the odd football match as that was it. I think Britain was dead in the 80s.
Terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely
synthetic
terrible.
Fucking rubbish.
That was when I was growing up in the 80s, like, and it was, what the fuck's this all about?
I think it was with ecstasy, really. I think that it was the new posh designer drug, and once it was very exciting when it first happened, going to the Hacienda and literally listening to this music, which was fucking unspeakably rubbish. And then you had an E, and it was like listening to fucking classical music.
We get all over.
Never count against Noel Gallagher for a funny quip, something like that.
So, sorry. That was a slow. It sunk into me like very slowly. Like go in, like you go in, you're like, what the fuck is this? And then you pop the E, and you're like, this is the voice of a generation. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? Got it.
I remember that because it was 24-hour party people. That's what the Hacienda was.
Yep.
And
Oh, man.
That's how I got that reference.
Yeah. I was like, oh, we know that place. Oh, we don't know that place, but we've heard of that.
We know of it.
Of it.
I like doing it, travel about, and it's top, better than working, innit? That's the way I look at it.
Does everybody know that we're doing an Oasis tribute band? Or are you just going to tell them how good it is?
Who?
You. So tell us about your tribute band. Oh, it's top. It's great. It's great.
Well, go on, I'll leave
it's an Oasis tribute band called Wonderwall.
What?
And it's good. I'll go there now. Yeah, it's good. Carry on, Dean.
No, you're all right. You carry on, man. Don't
see.
fucking interrupt me again.
I'm just lucky to have the part of Noel, because he finds it much easier to act like a twat.
What? Hey now.
Not too bad. They're showing the the music and what town in the UK it came from.
Gotcha.
Like Manchester, Oasis.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I asked this to everyone listening because Spencer Joyce's name is right there on the screen.
Oh.
So I can't see
okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can change that real quick.
Because I'm like, I think I know what's happening, but not quite.
Right, hopefully it'll.
Got it. Okay.
The music fans in here already know about me, and if you don't, link in the description. It's the intro and outro song.
Yes. Yep.
It was a decade of festivals.
People just didn't give a fuck, you know. Rock and roll star,
Cocaine Cure,
Live Forever, Cigarettes and Alcohol. They're probably the 3 songs that sum up the 90s.
Drugs, a lot of fun, ambition.
I don't think really anyone was thinking about the consequences.
That's more my thing. I like to watch.
It was a sunny day, the sunshine looked day-glow because of all the chemicals in the air. There were thousands and thousands of teenagers there, and I'd never seen so many kids smoking so much dope and taking so many drugs. People were really, really stoned on weed and also on ecstasy as well. So it was a very sort of return of the 60s hallucinogenic type crowd.
It was a shit gig, but it was a fantastic. You know, from a technical point of view, the wind was blowing the sound all over the fucking place. I don't think I got to hear one of the songs properly, but that wasn't the point. The point was there was all them people there.
Yep.
Spike Island was that was the blueprint for my group. We were then going to become the biggest band in the world, and the Stone Roses, their impact and that gig stretches so far beyond the gig itself and the music. You know, the Stone Roses need never have played a note at that gig. The job's already done when the people are there. Do you know what I mean?
Spike Island was a good feeling. It was this feeling of space. It was a feeling of freedom after having been locked up by 11 years of a Conservative government.
As the Scotland Yard inquiry gets underway, senior officers have already said there was evidence of anarchists.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're leaving Downing Street for the last time after 11 and a half wonderful years, and we're very happy that we leave the United Kingdom in a very, very much better state than when we came here 11 and a half years ago.
Wow.
Man, 11 years under Thatcher. Man. It's a lot of. There must be a lot of pent up aggression and a lot of pent up needing to get out and be amongst the people.
Yeah,
and
we had like I'm not gonna compare it, but like a taste of that during our lockdown. It's like what popped off as soon as we got released. Music popped off. Gigs.
I mean, I wouldn't say it compare it to COVID. I mean, this is the 80s.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. I'm just saying, like when you pen up people for that long, we always will flock to art being out, being free.
Right.
Music means
exactly.
freedom. So it's just like the longer you've been pent up, the bigger the event is after that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hence Moscow, Metallica.
Yeah.
Why it was massive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's I finally saw that video.
Yes.
How have you not seen?
I was so mad. How did you not see that? Anyway.
It's one of our best doing shorts.
Oh man.
When we were making Blue Lines, it was the beginning of that, the post-Thatcher thing. It was the beginning of the self, It was all about self and nothing about community at all. I never felt like British, I mean, everyone involved in making those records came from totally different sort of ethnic backgrounds, Jamaican, Barbadian, half Italian for me, English. There was never this kind of British feel to it.
English upbringing, background Caribbean. It's the way that we ability, sharing a soliloquy, pick up the...
It always struck me about most British music, in hip-hop and rock, there was this kind of a weird lean towards Americanism in everyone's accents and their voices. And we never had the urge to do that. We always wanted to sound ourselves. And it wasn't the urge to sound British or sort of like sort of twee or kind of like, you know, just trying to be ourselves, trying to use references that meant something to us that people would get, you know, pick up on.
Well, what happened after Spike Island is that the Stone Roses completely fucked it up. The Roses were the group who were going to break through and make it, and they didn't because they lost their nerve. And so there was a hole there within that particular aspect of pop rock culture, and that was very quickly filled by Nirvana and what became known as grunge. Nirvana were incredibly forceful and incredibly powerful, and one of the greatest rock groups of all time. The pendulum went back to America. There's always this tick-tock thing between the US and the UK. Within the UK, the US often does not give a toss about the UK. So within the UK, you suddenly had this grunge invasion, and actually the only decent group really were Nirvana.
American bands were just starting to dominate the music industry in this country, rather like they are now. And you know, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and bands like that were just sort of like cleaning up everywhere. And I think it was just a groundswell of movement between, well, certainly I liked English music, so I started representing a lot of English bands. Blur started drinking here, and Morrissey lived around here at the time, and he used to come in here as well. Pulp and Jarvis used to come and drink here, and Suede did their interviews here. Menswear formed in here, and Elastico signed their deal in here, famously, Matchbox of that. So yeah, there was a lot of significant bands were here.
Wow. Dang, man.
Select magazine wanted to do a feature about
Oh, so Suede, so they are gonna mention the fact that Suede kind of kicked this stuff off. I take back what I said earlier.
Cool, man. Cool. I mean, it's good. It's good. Like, it's good to see where the shift started. You know, Stone Roses like piqued the interest. Like, introduced, what was it? The glacier. The iceberg fell off the glacier with Stone Roses, right?
Yeah.
And Suede set the whole movement possibly into motion with other bands that they've been mentioning too in the background. Like, it wasn't just this one band and they're like, we choose them. No, they were just spearheading the whole thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that they mentioned that Nirvana came up in the UK as a result of the Stone Roses, you know, not having their act together.
Yeah.
Which, man, that's
interesting.
To think like we would be familiar with Stone Roses before the ATS 21 deal started, had they had their act together, and Nirvana didn't come up like it did.
Yeah, because I feel like that all happened. You know, it's easy to talk about like timelines now, but then that was like day and night. That was like one day, next day. It happened so quick. I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't make it, then Nirvana was biting at the bit to take the reins and run with it.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
But, yeah, this is interesting, man.
British bands, 5 of them actually at the time, which was Suede, Pulp, Denim, you know, we came out of Felt, the Auteurs, and Synthetian. And 3 of those bands were representing my company, so they obviously sort of came through me to sort of try and set it up. They ended up putting up a picture of Brett on the front with a Union Jack behind him, which was not a great idea, really. I think it was coming out of like, this is something.
What I was seeing, I suppose, because we travelled on a bus and we went to some pretty obscure places, I got it was quite insightful. And I started to sort of plastic mouldings and obesity and money for nothing. And fun pubs really annoyed me. They just rip everything out and then replace it with plastic. Don't believe I grew up in the East End.
Well, a lot of people slagged you off for being some sort of fake, sort of mockney cockney, didn't they?
I was what I was. I was born in Whitechapel Hospital and I lived in Leytonstone until I was 9. I went to the same school as Jonathan Ross. Yeah, and then I moved to Colchester and I felt completely like a fish out of water. It was a almost exclusively white community. It was pretty racist still. They'd taken to Thatcher's dream and they'd really gone for it. but the price of it was just sort of, I felt was too much, really. And I felt very out of place. The way the environment was just fucked up. And the colour and the sort of vibrancy of the countryside was destroyed. And within a couple of years, and Thatcher, there were just this kind of urbanisation of, you know. It literally was fields I was playing in one year were housing estates in it.
Oh man!
Wow.
Yeah, we went on tour with Blur, Park Life tour, and what I remember most about it, there was one gig about halfway through, and it was the Shepherd's Bush Empire. And I remember we'd done our support slot. I remember watching Blur on stage, and there's 3 tiers of balconies, and watching them literally moving up and down, and they were jam-packed with 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And this was a generation that had only known one establishment, one order. It literally, the whole lot of them had grown up under Thatcherism and beyond. And there was a sense of kind of excitement that something was changing, perhaps that this music was foreshadowing something else.
I think the thing about Park Life, it did capture that sort of that sense of freedom that you finally got when you left the 5th form. You were just sitting around in parks, drinking cider and booting footballs at each other.
That's an interesting observation. Like it basically the Thatcher generation, because people that were born under Thatcher grew up and developed musical tastes under Thatcher.
Yeah.
So that there's not really much of a change then. It's just like all you know is this, and then it's gone, and then it's like an awakening for a whole, like no one remembers the before in these kids' eyes.
Right.
That's all they know is like, oh my God, we're stuck here. This is the way it must be forever and ever. And then that's gone, and then shit just flies open.
Yeah, like this.
Yes. Yeah, I like. Yeah, okay. That helps me understand the mindset of the masses that gathered to absorb this music.
Yeah,
because they were all there. They were all the Thatcher kids.
Yeah, and they just need to get the hell out.
Yeah,
and it's something.
Got it,
man. I might actually like Blur by the end of this doc.
Yeah. Okay. I'm there with it.
I remember the night we finished the first ever edition of Loaded. When I finished, I put Boys and Girls on and danced around the office. It was exciting and it had edge. And I remember listening to that record, and then every desk in the office had been cleared because we were moving up to a bigger office. And I was just about to tip my desk into a crate, and the phone went, and it was somebody from the Daily Express saying, had I heard whether or not Kurt Cobain was dead?
Oh.
Fans of the American rock band Nirvana have been mourning the death of the group's lead singer Kurt Cobain. The self-confessed
last month shot himself at his Seattle home. A suicide note was found beside his body.
What happened with Kurt Cobain's suicide was that there was this vacuum, and the music industry and the media industries abhor a vacuum. And Oasis came along at just the right time.
At that time it was just Phil Collins and all these boring people and boring bands and who were playing big gigs, but it was like, you got nothing to say. You don't look like rock stars, you look like dicks in tights. You're like something off a pantomime, you know what I mean? And it's time for some real lads to get up there and take charge. And I think that's what we did. Didn't like music then. Just played football and come in late for me tea. And knocked on people's doors and ran off. Ran through people's back gardens and pinched things.
What sort of things would you pinch?
Clothes off the washing line. If I thought it looked pretty cool, I thought I'll have that. Mountain bikes, anything. Lawn mowers.
You used to pick lawnmowers?
And sell them. For weed.
Man, I remember seeing that part when we checked out Liam Gallagher's funniest moments. It's still It still gets me, man.
It's just wild.
He stole a lawnmower and sold it for weed.
Oh my God. This man living the rock star life before he was a rock star.
Yeah. That's just how he is. Like the fact that he's one of the greatest rock frontmen of the 90s, it didn't change that. He was like that before that.
Yeah. Like he didn't turn into anything he wasn't.
Exactly.
Oh,
he knew he had
God.
to be himself. He couldn't be no one else.
Yep. Oh man.
Who would want to write about your daily life living in Manchester in a fucking block of flats, smoking shit weed, doing nothing, My songs are all about just getting out of the city and, I don't know, living a better life, really. I wrote it in India House on Whitworth Street in Manchester, flat 47, 4th floor. It's where all the beautiful people in Manchester used to live. But I wrote it in my bedroom, and I'd just been listening to Exile on Main Street, and the melody from the first line goes, maybe I don't really want to know, and that's from May the Good Lord shine a light on you. I think it only took an evening to write, played it to the band the next day, and I think the day after that we played it in a gig at Manchester Hop and Grape.
They were their own nation state. It was their own principality of Oasis. They didn't belong to anybody. They were completely unself-conscious. They were incredibly volatile. You never knew what they were going to say next. They really just didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit what people thought about them. And it was very much from the gut. And I think we'd waited a very long time to have British pop stars that were like that again. And suddenly two came at once.
It's huge. By London standards at that time, we didn't have any restaurants really that you went to in that way. So I remember going in there thinking, my God, this must have cost a fortune. And it was beautiful. It was all Art Deco and very much my style, good use of colour. And everyone just felt this optimism from that point. Everyone thought anything's possible because it worked.
Brain spotting.
There was something going on. A new generation had come of age, and they had grown up loathing and despising American mass culture. When it came to music, movies, TV, computer games, it was all American. And I think a generation of Brits who came of age in the mid-90s really resented this. They felt a kind of a nationalistic resentment of the fact that America enjoyed this unchallenged cultural hegemony. And consequently, there emerged this kind of protest movement, if you like, this new music, these new fashions, which were more anti-American, and they were British in a slightly caricatured way. That was enough for kind of the world to go nuts for a little while about London's second coming.
Nice.
Confidence was something that in the past we'd left to Americans. And the Americans have tremendous confidence, but not much talent. And it just seemed that, all those sentences, all those discussions you've ever had, like, wouldn't it be great if? Well, that's what happened in the 90s. If happened.
You want to turn over when Oasis are here to see you, and they're going to play the first ever TV performance of their brand new song. It's the best song around. It is Some Might Say.
Oasis were on Top of the Pops. I think some might say had gone into number one, and I remember watching them, and I just cried. I thought, something is really changing here. It must have been early May, because they just had the council elections, and the Tories finally had got trounced. They were really trounced. Somehow, by accident, by design, somebody captures the mood of the moment with a song, and that to me was the making of Oasis.
I tell you what, man, it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
For me, and also for me seeing Oasis, it's just nostalgic for 2 years ago. That's where we started.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I know for a lot of people watching, it's nostalgic to them watching in the 90s and living through that. And,
yeah.
I think the phrase was used, like, it was very anti-American. What they were all doing, not just in music, but also fashion and TV and computer games and things like that. Just to be like, the phrase was like, what if this happened? And if happened.
And if happened. Yeah. But I like that the comment because it now hearing that makes a lot of things make sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to me now.
Right. It wasn't just Nirvana that they were against. I mean,
No.
There's a little part earlier where Damon Albarn was talking about Blur and their culture, and like it cut to like a scene in a KFC. I guess that was a bit of a protest against that kind of Americanism.
Yeah, well, because we mass exported that across the world. Yeah. And so I like that they banded together and fought back the giant.
That was us.
That was us. Yeah. So it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's like what you say, and I think it was a couple of videos ago. It's like we're piecing together this puzzle, and this just adds a different piece that resonates with us because this is how we unpacked. We started unpacking the channel with this. Music from this era.
That's the basis of our friendship is music, and that was the best starting point for the both of us.
Yes, and even the channel itself, we started on our path that where we are now with British music. British
particularly
bands.
Britpop.
Yeah, and so this is a massive piece of a puzzle that we are starting to put together.
Exactly,
and it makes me happy to hear all this stuff and try to absorb it. I mean, there's some stuff that is going over my head, but that's just always. So anyway, it's just always. Whatever. It makes rewatch value worth it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
As Britain approaches the end of the century, we have been with the same masters now for 18 years. We still have the talent, skills, and inventiveness that we've always had, probably more so. But in a rapidly changing world, we seem somehow to have lost our sense of purpose. Now, someone has emerged who is determined to give it back to us.
I tell you what surprised me was the way New Labour explicitly aligned themselves, especially with music.
New Labour, by definition, was very young. I mean, Tony Blair. I mean, there was a guy who played rock music when he was at university rather than traipsed along on demonstrations and supported worthy causes. I mean,
were you familiar with his band Ugly Rumours?
I don't know his band Ugly Rumours. I'm afraid I was more boring. We were at Oxford at the same time, but I was sort of, talking to Noel Gallagher or whatever it was. He went out into the country to establish Labour's credentials, to create a connection between the new politics that we were trying to create and the country as a whole.
Oi! There are 7 people in this room tonight who are giving a little bit of hope to young people in this country. That is me, our kid, Bonehead, Quigsy, Alan White, Alan McGee and Tony Blair. And if you've all got anything about you, you get up there and you shake Tony Blair's hand, man. He's a man. Power to the people!
Wow.
Britain had been so uptight.
Man, usually you don't see the connection between rock and politicians. I mean, you definitely saw that with like Jay-Z and Beyonce and the Obamas, and then with Trump, it was like Kid Rock. I think you see that.
Yeah.
But so that's like an equivalent of that in the 90s.
Yeah, I feel like he did the smart when you align yourself with up and coming, with the let's say the youth, who's going to carry everything forward. It's a good look. I mean, sometimes, but I'm just saying, like it's this one guy was saying he was more boring. This guy went and actually talked to bands and stuff like that. Like that's pretty cool. That's like a up here move.
Yeah. Then again, we're not even 25 minutes in, man.
This
so
is
hopefully
true.
this doesn't have a dark ending to it. It probably will.
It probably will. It probably will, like most things we check out.
Yeah. I mean, come on. The people are already probably writing in comments already saying, "Oh, it ended like this." I'm like, let us watch the thing first.
Yes, I love this.
So under the cosh for so long, and at war with itself and at war with its identity. You know, the 80s was when Britain stopped being Great Britain and stopped living that myth that we were some great state, and the outsiders came in through the 90s, and it was their turn.
An exciting time. It's like reinvention of what was back in the 60s and punk. Maybe it was reminiscing a bit of the past, but with a forward vision. English tradition's fantastic. You know, I love the pomp and snobbery of it all. And so to take that and create something new and modern is, for me, just the way forward. We've had these times where, you know, Britain was exciting, London was exciting. And I think this gave us an excuse to say it's exciting again. And it just happened at a time when there was a lot going on. You know, I was doing my bit on the road, McQueen was doing his bit in Paris, Geigers were doing what they were doing around the world. It was a great time.
There's a kind of Jaws element to it. You just go, right, I'll take that thing that frightens you from Jaws and I'll just do that with it and put it there. I mean, all I had was an idea that I wanted it to be big enough to eat you, and, you know, something that could frighten you, you know, and not a painting, and, you know, not a sculpture, and not a light box. I just wanted this thing that had that actual, you know, could create that actual fear. But then I suppose, you know, there was something in those times that made everybody feel it was possible to go that bit further and larger. We never had an idea that we were going to make paintings and wait for somebody to come along. It just, you know, just wasn't like that. It was like, we couldn't wait, which is like, you know, we just said, come on, let's just get a building, go out there and like do it, and because it's like the things that we're making didn't function unless they were actually in a space and with people looking at them. Now underpants are art, and I remember they had the Daily Star standing in front of the fish piece with a bag of chips, you know, and you get all that stuff, and it's like people don't realise that, you know, they think, God, that art's so sensational, when really it's this stuff in the newspapers which is a lot more sensational. When you actually go there, you know, I mean, like the cow and calf cut in half, there's something really sort of sad and quiet and tragic about it. When you actually see it again, the same with the shark, you know. But then, you know, we do have a few heads blown off and things in there. We're not averse to that kind of stuff. That was the whole scripts for it. And we did it. Damon cut out a load of shots from it, which was really bad because he didn't want to alienate his female fans. I had Joe Guest in a nurse's uniform running on the spot, like big in and out cleavage shots.
Groups have begun the biggest chart war in 30 years. The Manchester band Oasis and their arch rivals Blur released new singles today, each hoping to reach the #1 spot next week. The music industry hasn't seen anything like it since the Beatles fought it out with the Rolling Stones in the 60s.
The enemy wanted to stoke the fires of a war between Blur and Oasis and stand back and see who survived. Blur fell for it a bit too much. I don't think Oasis were too worried by it. And I think everybody at the NME wanted Blur to win that war because it was a nice, you know, they were nice middle-class boys, and the NME was an Oxbridge paper. They were a bit annoyed when the working-class oiks from Manchester won out.
And there was that whole nonsense between you and Oasis. I mean, how did that all come about?
I don't think we need to talk about that. Okay. Just because everyone knows about that, you know.
But I mean, for you, that must have been, you know.
I'm not going to tell you the real reason why.
All right.
Because you know, there are other people involved, and the real reason why we fell out so kind of sort of publicly.
So basically, what I'm getting from that is we got our asses kicked by a couple of working class lads. That's it.
And we don't want to talk about it.
We don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
You know what happened.
Yep.
You decide.
Yep. Pretty much.
I'm not talking about that. And apparently these days, him and Noel Gallagher are good friends now. I don't know why.
Out of some of the biggest rivalries come the best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, look at UK and the US, for instance.
Yeah. So, we hated each other in the 1700s. Now we're best friends.
Yep. Friends. Yeah.
Friends.
Friends. Oh man. Goodness gracious.
There's the British Heavyweight Pop Music Championship. In one corner, 4 young middle-class men from the south of England, collectively known as Blur, and in the other corner, 5 young working-class men from Manchester, called Oasis. They're the 2 most popular bands in Britain, having sold millions of records, and they're currently engaged in a chart war that set the music industry alight.
Much better song.
We are now in the golden era again of British pop music. But these are 2 groups, Oasis and Blur, who actually formed on the indie circuit, who have grown more and more popular through just playing lots and lots of gigs around the country, and who have now crossed right over to the public at large, and they're duking it out to see who is the biggest.
The way I see it is Steve Sutherland saying to Damon Albarn, you should have released a single on the same day as them. We'll sell a shitload of papers and you'll sell a shitload of records. That's the way I see it. We were quite offended at the time. We were sat in Rockfield and Alan McGee came down and said, well, they've moved their single back. You know, they had it ready to go like 2 weeks before and they decided to stop it and move it back so it was on the same day as ours. And Alan McGee and that was saying, well, you know, just like move yours back again. And we were saying, no, fuck that, you know. So it was a chance, it was their last chance really to drag themselves up on the coattails of my band really. And, you know, the enemy losing readers by the thousands every week. I suppose it was something that they didn't think would get us out of hand as it did. But then again, you get Damon Albarn on the 10 o'clock news, you know. I ask you, what the fuck is all that about, you know?
When the record shop doors opened this morning...
Oh, okay, so Blur and their people moved it back.
Interesting.
And they were just desperate for attention.
Now, did they say that they, what did he say or imply that they might have worked with the paper company, the newspaper company?
Yes, they did say that. So
or implied.
No, I mean, I think earlier it was mentioned that, you know, Blur was like in good with NME and was, you know, they were betting on Blur to win, but obviously,
yeah,
that wasn't how it happened.
Genius marketing move, man. Genius marketing move.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Both bands win.
Cause a cultural war between music.
Yeah,
that's a good way to distract people. I like that, man.
Which is, you know, exactly how it was in the 60s. You know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The Beatles were from Liverpool. They're more working class and had different types of music than the Rolling Stones, which were from, you know, London, more middle class and, you know, even though more blues based, but it was a whole different thing.
I just feel like I maybe that's just because I'm looking at it now. I mean, if you're popping off as a big band, it shouldn't bother you. You know what I mean? Because the people that fuck with you are gonna fuck with you anyway.
Yeah,
like
it just seemed to bother Blur, and Oasis just wasn't bothered by it at all. I'm like, whatever, go ahead.
It's the funniest thing. It's like, I want to fight you. Like, all right, I don't give a shit. Like, it's hard to antagonize someone like that. It's hard to get to rile them up like that when they just
can't be bothered.
It sucks.
Love it.
Man.
You can tell which band we're more fan of on this channel, right?
Yeah. But I'm always gonna be I'm always gonna be in the process of warming up to Blur, but I love the Gorillaz. I'll put it that way.
I do too. Feel Good Inc. and Clint Eastwood were middle school for me. I like that.
Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Battle commenced. The chances are both singles could have been #1 had they been released on separate weeks.
I'm a little nervous about the whole thing, obviously, because both bands have really upped the stakes, and someone's going to come out on top and someone's going to come out second, and you know, by the very nature of being in a band, you're always quite competitive, and you want to come top, really.
You know, I found myself on the news at 10 in this kind of battle. Supposed battle. All really odd.
Because you were saying to me last time we met that, you know, when you were, you know, just walking around in the street, you were getting
heckled.
Yeah. But also cheered as well. I think it's kind of, I don't want to cast myself as like, you know, poor little Damon. Everyone started picking on him. It wasn't really like that, but it was quite a bit unnerving on occasions. I mean, everywhere I went, I'd be reminded of it.
Blur didn't come out of it too well. They were kind of the middle class band, and you guys were the working class heroes.
Well, I wouldn't say Blur didn't come out of it well, but that's what they are. And that's what we are. You can't, don't dress it up and make it something that it's not. They've never been on a building site. Not to say that that's, not to say that the dirt under your fingernails is some sort of badge of honour. It's not. It's just a fact, They never had a paper round. I had a milk round and stuff like that, I worked on building sites. That fundamentally makes my soul a lot more pure than theirs.
The strange thing about it is that...
Exactly. And Noel came out the mud, and Damon had a silver spoon in his mouth.
And it's funny because none of that should ever matter in music.
No,
because there's a space for all of them.
Yeah,
I just, oh man, yeah. There's a space for everyone.
Look, they didn't have to say anything, and I think whoever they said earlier, it could have both been #1 singles.
Yeah,
and would have enjoyed them, but they had to go and open their mouths. At least Damon did.
They had to
go open his mouth.
A genius publicity stunt. Like I keep saying, that whole thing. I mean, magnificent marketing. Like, oh,
even when they lost, they still won.
Yeah, they did.
Like, come on.
Both of them did. Both of them did. Because even if you weren't a fan of either, that you were forced to pick a side.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. It's like we've had some comments during our heyday of Oasis run. I would say last year, a little bit before last year, that like I couldn't be bothered with either. I'm more of a whatever fan. Yeah. And but that didn't exist. You were either Blur or Oasis.
Right. They didn't have the internet back then.
You were forced to pick a side.
Right. This is, the equivalent of, rappers having beef these days and selling records like that, getting streams like that. So it's always been around.
You were suddenly Blur with a sort of inauthentic middle class pop band, and Oasis with a real gritty working class heroes.
He's drinking.
Why would you say that?
How did you feel about all that?
That was very intelligent observation by whoever made that, wasn't it? What do I think about it?
Yeah, I mean, well, how did you feel? I mean, that whole time...
How did I feel? I felt stupid, and I felt... I just felt very confused, basically. Didn't really realise that my kind of flippancy was going to have such, profound sort of resonance in my life. And I changed quite dramatically after that period.
The way he talked was just like he did not do himself any favors there at all.
No.
Like, just shut up, man.
Or just own it. Just own it. You know what I mean? Just I feel like it's when you start dancing around stuff, just freaking own it. Like, I was dumb, or that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because you're interviewing me now. So who won? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I just hate that. I hate that wishy-washy shit. I hate it. I hate it.
Trying to backtrack on everything you did. Like, own up to that shit, man.
Yeah. It does. Like, dude, what was it? When he was like talking about like the flippance of his like flippancy of his youth, like, let me tell you, what's his face, McGrath from Sugar Ray has a family. talk about someone that really said nothing. You know what I mean? But he owned it, and he's now whatever radio host somewhere, probably on an AM radio. I don't know what he's doing, but it's like he knows what he did. He knows that his lyrics weren't changing lives.
Right.
And it's just funny. It's just like own that shit, and I feel like at least Oasis has that mentality already. Like, I didn't give a F. We're out there to make music. That's it. Blur got caught up in the politics of it all.
Yeah. Tried to make it about more than just the music.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why a couple of bands suddenly became the barometer for the whole music scene. For us and for other bands who were not at all interested, it became maybe a little more difficult to sort of like make your presence felt, because you had to have this kind of, you had to be part of this great sort of this battle almost to take sides, you know what I mean? And you weren't interested in the fucking first place, you know, so you just got on with it and just wait for it to sort of abate. For us and for other bands who were living in Bristol, I think in the last 10 years, the most creative time, you know, of our lives, really.
Around that time, it seemed like something was happening. It was exciting for me because it seemed like there'd been this long period of time when things from the kind of world that I was from were considered very marginal or whatever. Well, a lot of people were considered marginal because, if you lived on the dole in the kind of mid to late 80s, you were just scum of the earth, weren't you? And I suppose it was on the back of Thatcher's Britain, so you were kind of used to being this kind of marginal piece of turd. And then suddenly, piece of turd was moved into centre stage. So that felt exciting. It felt like a revolution was in progress or something.
Man, what a great song.
That's a banger just as well.
Yep. Oh, man.
That's another thing we're taking from this is a lot of great bangers. Waterfall, Stone Roses, Girls and Boys, Blur, Live Forever, Oasis, Common People, Pulp.
Yeah. Come on, man. I mean, this had to have had the best soundtrack. Come on. There's no excuse. If this had a shit soundtrack, no excuse. You're interviewing everyone.
We probably would have turned it off by now.
100%, dude.
That song you did, Common People, I had it described as the perfect encapsulation of the Britpop aesthetic.
Oh dear. Right. It was only a real story that had happened when I was at art college, and this Greek girl did say she wanted to move to Hackney actually and live like the common people, and me saying that couldn't happen because she could live in those circumstances, but she would just be acting a role because she knew that she could always escape from it. Working class culture was often sneered at as being crude and stuff like that, and then suddenly people maybe cottoned on to the fact that it was a bit more alive than the supposedly highbrow culture, and so were desperate to say they'd been hanging around with some, I went to a great cafe. It was really, authentic. You should have. The cutlery was so dirty.
It's not a choice that's made for you. You don't sort of leave school and go, it's important that I'm working class, because that's just the way that I was born. I was born into a fucking life of menial fucking jobs. My dad was a labourer. My mum was a cleaner and a dinner lady, and that was it. What aspirations did we have? None. All we had was rock and roll.
It was an explosion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite mad. And like I say, you know, they got that big that
every pub you went in or whatever, Oasis tunes were on.
But every venue in England, all of a sudden, you know, when you get that big, there wasn't any. So you'll get 3 gigs in the country out of Oasis. That's where we fill in all the gaps because they couldn't get to see them.
Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, me personally, I've lived in both what would be considered working class, like, you know, dirt poor North Carolina areas, and also in suburban Northern Virginia as a kid. And I could tell you right now which one is more vibrant, which one has more life in it. It's the working class.
Yep.
You know, we have to find creative ways to have fun because we're within a constraint of money, and you know, you don't appreciate it when you have everything you want.
And we tend to make I feel like we tend to make the memories last because we know that we don't get those too often. So we tend to go harder.
Right. You don't know when the next one's going to come. So that's, you know, like so that's why that's resonating for me personally. And I guess you too.
I mean, my whole life, working class. Straight up. Straight up.
Laborers.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, my dad was a machine repairman around the world. My mom worked a lot of odd jobs, and me personally, I've worked a lot of odd retail jobs, CDL jobs, and you know, just made a career as an entertainer independently.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy, and I mean, my whole life, I think I've had more jobs than I could even mention. I think maybe I think I might be pushing 20, 23 jobs in my life.
Yeah.
I found a lot of jobs that I hate to do,
Yeah.
which is important.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Built character.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I can't understand why in this country in particular, that when people were going to buy Morning Glory, they didn't buy Definitely Maybe. And I'd just like to say, where do you fucking get off on that? You know, when you go to HMV to buy a copy of Morning Glory, you don't buy Definitely Maybe. What's that all about? You know, do you just do it to piss me off? I would... It's a source of... I could sit and think about that for hours. Have you got Definitely Maybe? And Morning... See, no, I can understand that. People are fucking weird.
Okay, before we talk about... you know...
Oh, this guy. Oh. What were you gonna say?
I had a point I was gonna say, but then Mike Flowers got on my screen here, and now I completely forgot it.
It's the power of music, Spencer. It overwhelms you, man.
I remember when we first checked that out. People were commenting saying I didn't get it. No. I got it. It doesn't mean I have to like it. Me getting it and me liking it are two completely different things. I get it. I understand it. I'd rather put my wiener in a meat grinder than listen to that.
Oh my God. Well, good thing you're divorcing. You know what I mean? So you can listen to more things like this. Well, you know, my thing is like, it was just I gotta hear what he says about this. I hope he addresses this.
I hope
let's let it cook. Oh, how dare you! How dare you, people that put this together?
Thank you.
How dare you just drop that in there with no context?
Yeah, come on. No, but I remember what I was gonna say when Noel was saying like, why when people bought Morning Glory, why didn't they buy Definitely Maybe? Definitely Maybe is a much better album. Like, come on. It's more rock and roll. It's got Live Forever and Slide Away and Cigarettes and Alcohol on it.
And those are
Where is that on Morning Glory?
Those are tunes. Those are bangers, dude.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
That had no place being in this whole video.
When I stood at Nebworth and watched Oasis, I turned to Alan McGee and said, "This is it. This is the battle has been won." And it seemed that throughout that time in the 80s, when we were putting on bands in little clubs or doing fanzines or doing flexi discs or records or just trying to get an article about a small band on the radio, an article on a small band in the music press or what have you, it seemed like everything that had been done was finalised at Nebworth. That's what it felt like. Here was the greatest band in the world, the biggest band in the world, and for once the biggest band in the world were the best band in the world.
Were you aware at the time that you were kind of making history?
I think everything, they got to a certain point after Morning Glory come out and Wonderwall took off, that it felt that everything was leading up to something that was going to define not only the size of the band, but what British pop music was about at that time. So it all felt like it was leading to Nebworth, but you know, we were too busy. I think we were too busy doing it to worry about, because I think if we'd have sat down and calculated that we were going to make history, I'd have certainly wore a better outfit, let's put it that way, and I may have gone to bed a little bit earlier, and we may have tried to keep Liam off the sauce.
This one's for anyone. That's what I can't fucking down.
Biggest freestanding gig in history.
Very proud of that.
What do you remember of that day?
Nothing. Not a lot, really. I remember forgetting that I thought we were only doing one night, and then we'd done the second, so I got really drunk after the first night and can't remember anything else.
Shit! What are the characteristics that make a great rock band?
Having it, just having it. I don't know what it is, you just got to have it, and I've got it.
Man.
And by us having it, hopefully some other people will learn how to have it. You know what I mean?
Do you enjoy the celebrity?
At the beginning, of course, yeah. I loved all that at the beginning, meeting people you'd only seen on telly. And, you know, supermodels and all that stuff, and actors and all that. Yeah, you know, meeting Ewan McGregor and all that for the first time was fucking ace.
Danny Boyle did a very clever thing, and he sort of brought all the kind of Britpop luminaries and whoever in and asked them all to do songs for it, and we just kind of did it, and it was cool. It was good fun.
I remember reading somewhere that Noel actually turned down having Oasis on the Train Spotting soundtrack because he thought that it was actually about spotting trains, not about what it was.
Oh, man.
And I remember, I could see why it was a cultural, significantly great movie. I'm okay never ever watching it again.
God, man. It was an amazing movie. Amazing movie.
It was amazing.
But like you, I did it. I saw it. I respect it. I loved it. And I'm good. Holy crap, was that a heavy investment.
Yeah, and holy crap was definitely the right terminology there.
Wrecked me.
When we eventually do all edit down these movies for YouTube, like, I'm handing it off to somebody else. I am not putting my eyes on that again.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good without that as well. God, man.
Yeah.
Man. That's so funny, though.
Whole wave of creativity that came off the streets and surprised people. You know, they were making Hollywood movies about tales of smack addiction in tenements in Glasgow. What was all that about? I had a fucking great time. And every single day between 1994, spring 94 and spring 97, there was something of some excitement. We used to row at Loaded about whose turn it was to do the 100 yards, to go and get the champagne.
I used to really enjoy going out and like
going to openings and then, you know, going out and being in a suit 1 minute and then on your knees the next, look like a fucking tramp, and being surrounded constantly, having people going, oh, he's lost it. Oh no, he's looking really together. Oh no, he's lost it. And in a way that, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of enjoyment out of something like that. For a while, we all had a lot of fun. I certainly did.
There was a kind of cultural change. It was all right to be a lad.
Yeah, but it's like, I think it's like anything like that. Because it had been so beyond the pale to be like that for a long time, it was kind of a breath of fresh air when people just were quite crude.
So,
Hang on.
I have a question. Lad culture would be like our bro culture.
Yes.
Is that what I'm getting?
100%.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Like lad culture, bro culture here, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
To be a bro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm there. I'm with it. Now, hear me out on this. We just hit a benchmark moment for all of you guys requesting that we listen to Blur Song 2. Guess what we just did? It's the first time it's been on the channel.
Yeah, first time on the channel, but we've heard it multiple times on US Rock Radio, along with Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova and Don't Look Back in Anger.
That is the first time that song has graced the channel in 2 years.
Right.
A lot of the people were very ambivalent about being in Vanity Fair in connection with Cool Britannia. Yet on the other hand, they kind of did want to be in Vanity Fair. It was as though if something hasn't been noticed by the American media, particularly New York glossy magazines, it's as though it hasn't really happened. So even though Cool Britannia was this sort of violent reaction to things precisely like Vanity Fair and their enormous influence, saying, we don't care what you think, we're British, we don't care about America, but at the same time, they wanted to be photographed. They wanted to appear in the magazine. Well, one of the touch and go people for a very long time was Tony Blair. One of my jobs was trying to persuade people in Tony Blair's office that it would be a good thing politically for Tony Blair to pose in the Vanity Fair Cool Britannia issue, and that was extremely tough because on the one hand, the whole cultural phenomenon had occurred under John Major's premiership. So in a sense, the Tories could take credit for Cool Britannia. So why should Tony Blair in any way endorse it? But on the other hand, Cool Britannia did seem to be a harbinger of a kind of new mood in Britain, a new optimism. And that was very much something Tony Blair hoped to sort of catch the coattails of in the '97 general election.
I thought he looked like an absolute fucking idiot. And because they wanted me and Liam to do it, and I remember taking the phone call and somebody saying, well, if you don't do it, Blur will do it. To which I laughed and handed the phone to Liam. I was like, oh well, fuck, oh well, I'd better do it then, you know what I mean? And yeah, and Liam ends up on the cover with a nipple on his head looking like a fucking baby's bottle with his fucking missus in a Union Jack bed, that's the one, topless. Ooh. Rubbish.
Tony Blair was carried into Downing Street today on a political landslide and on a wave of Labour jubilation. He'll have a majority in the Commons of 179, Labour's best result ever.
It so depressed me when Noel went to Downing Street, and you see those pictures of him now, you see the news report, and he's got his nice neat haircut and he's got his posh jacket on, and Meg's bought herself a nice new dress, and everything that he was about that he didn't belong to anybody, suddenly he did. He was right in their pocket. And in that very instant, he was neutered. It was like someone had come along with a knife and just cut his bollocks off.
I defy anybody to have an official fucking thing pop on their letterbox, you know, while you're dressed like an Afghan clown fucking at 5 in the morning, you know, off your fucking head on acid and going, it's from the fucking it's from the Prime Minister. What does it say? He wants us to go around for a fucking... he's inviting us to his house for a drink. And we've got to go then. Fucking right, we've got to go.
Were you invited to number 10 Downing Street?
No, and I wouldn't have gone anyway.
Why not?
It's not my place to... So why would I go there? What have I've got nothing in common with any of them. Don't know anything about politics, don't want to. looks like a shit house anyway, so why go there?
No.
What do you think?
This is why these days we're still Team Liam.
Yeah.
I think that would have been my response. But like, I don't. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna? What policy am I gonna change?
I would frame the invitation. You know,
Yeah.
frame it. It's a good thing to have as an invitation. But like think about that. That's like the beginning of a riff, maybe. Like that's where people are like, That's when people maybe started seeing them as one or the other within the band, rather than viewing them as the band. Because
right, as the brothers.
Yeah, as the brothers, like one unit, Oasis. That's it. But maybe after this, that's when they're like, okay, there's this one, and there's this one. Two different ideologies within the same band. You know,
yeah,
because right there, exactly what the girl said. He isn't practiced what he's been preaching.
He's selling out.
Well, at least that's what it assumes. People assume that's what it looks like, and assumptions are reality in the public eye.
No one.
Because he's fucking mad for it, innit? He's wanted to get in there and have a little nosy about. And part of you goes, right, yeah, I'd have gone just to have a look around like what Noel did. And part of you goes, right, I won't go because it's not my cup of tea. And then part of you goes, well, fuck that, I don't want to go out tonight. I'm going to stay in.
Why didn't I go? Because I just realised that we'd all been taken for a ride, and that everyone would be dropped. There's kind of sort of the promise of. Well, okay, put it this way. Maybe I was just delusional, but I'd been given the impression that I was asked there because they had an interest in what I had to say. But by the point that they got into power, it was pretty evident to me that us lot, i.e. the artists and the entertainers, were, basically, if we got, if you went there, you were going to go through the front door and then just be shown the exit as soon as you got in, and as long as it all got on telly and in the papers, that's all that mattered. And then it was like, now we were in the country, fuck off.
I've never had good feelings about Tony Blair or New Labour. And it's interesting, it was a measure of how conservative the music business and the music press was at the time. You absolutely couldn't say that without getting slapped. I mean, literally, you could not criticise New Labour, you could not criticise Blair. It was, verboten, it was not allowed. So desperate was everyone to believe in the con that it was.
What really pissed me off was when I kind of made a comment about I didn't really understand, or I didn't really feel he could justify sending his kids to private school, or grant funded, sorry, that's a euphemism. And I got a letter from his office saying, don't talk about that.
Wow.
And that was really the end, of my kind of brief flirtation with, which is why when they got in and there was this 5 minutes of thanking everyone who helped promote him, I didn't really feel like I was part of the party.
But you can get these CDs nowadays where they sort of play along with it.
We'd set up to watch the election all night, and I asked him how he managed to stay up all night, and he leant into me and he said, probably not by the same means you did. And at that point I thought, you fucking smart ass. And he's right, I thought that was hilarious. I had a lot of respect for him after that. But there you go. The photograph looks a bit shit though, doesn't it?
Oh man.
Man, that's pretty much it. It was a sellout move. I respect Damon for speaking the truth about his experience with it and saying that he didn't really get it, but then he got a letter saying, "Hey, don't say that."
Oof.
If a movement is going to be about the people, the artists and the bands and the people behind Cool Britannica, Britpop movement, you gotta have room for criticism, you know, and let them speak their truth about it. They're helping you right now. So why would you do that?
Because it was a pawn. They're pawns. They're interchangeable to them at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
mean, what's
pretty
the
much.
average life expectancy of a rock star? It's a short-term investment for a status change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you play nice with a couple rock stars that are mad influential, control the youth, get in power, and just like basically that party was like a you played yourself party. You know, like, here you go. Thanks for the memories.
Pretty much. And when you do criticize them, then you're seen as supporting the other party, which isn't always the case. Like, if you believe it's something, you got to criticize it from every now and again when they get out of line.
Yep.
They work for us, not the other way around.
100%.
I got the fear. That's true. Well, because I got what I wanted, I suppose, what I'd been after for the majority of my life, and then the actual reality of that I thought were rubbish.
He's a bright boy turned home star, because tonight, seen live, Gareth Dickinson is Jarvis Cocker!
Oh yeah, well you just realise that you've become a knobhead. It was like you've lived, you know, I don't know how old I was, 32 or something, so you've lived your life up to a certain point for 30 years, and then suddenly all that experience and life that you've led seems to not count for anything anymore, because you can't do them things anymore because you've got all these people going at you. And yet the world that supposedly has now opened its doors to you, yes, welcome sir, welcome to the celebrity club, it just seems to be really shite.
Yeah. Wow.
So my way of dealing with that situation was just to get as hammered as possible.
Biff Avery, screen test, take 2.
I didn't take her to the motel, she took me.
I'll tell you the unwritten law, you dumb son of a bitch.
Hey, I went to college once, but all they found were rats in my head.
Nice.
Did you find This Is Hardcore, the album, a struggle to write?
This Is Hardcore, yeah, it was awful. And it was definitely the worst period of my life. Without question. I mean, really. Because I was just a mess.
Why?
Well, I mean, taking drugs doesn't help. That never helps in a situation, you know. You don't often hear people saying, oh, since he's been taking them drugs, he's such a nice person. He's really come out of his shell, he's really nice. He's blossomed.
That was Damon's accurate line of the 90s. There was a blizzard going on. It just became the accessory. And from rerunning Loaded, the toilet became the new golf course. It was where all the deals were being done. The amount of features that I got out for the magazine from sitting, you know, chopping stuff out over a table or a toilet or a... Oh yeah, I'll be in it, no problem.
I was thinking about the consequences of it, you know. The government as well, I think, got carried away. It was just, my God, we've got to change.
Today was the day Oasis fans at last got their hands on the group's new album, Be Here Now. It's their first for 2 years. And as the Gallagher brothers might have put it themselves, the fans were mad for it.
It's just something you can tell your grandchildren, isn't it? I mean, the biggest album of all time. Yeah. I mean, I was there first.
I've only heard the first few tracks, but from what I hear, it's going to be wicked, much better than the first two albums.
It's their best one yet. I think it's the best album of this year, and I don't even think Oasis will do any better than this ever. It's that good.
No, I don't like the album.
Why don't you like the album?
It's just the same old stuff. It's like, you know, guitar rock, dad rock, all the same.
It's the sound of a bunch of guys on coke in the studio, not giving a fuck. There's no bass to it at all. I don't know what happened to that. It's all, and all the songs are really long, and all the lyrics are shit. And for every millisecond Liam is not saying a word, there's a fucking guitar riff in there, in a Wayne's World style, you know. Fucking air guitar gone mental. But Liam thinks it fucking rocks.
At that time, we thought it was fucking great, and I still think it's great. It just wasn't Morning Glory, and I'm sick of these people going on about definitely maybe. Fuck definitely maybe. It's over, you know. Fuck Morning Glory, it's over.
People will bitch about it for the rest of their lives, you know. But, you know, fucking sell it. You get 4 or 5 quid for it, I would imagine. Come round to my house, I'll sign it for you. Probably get a tenner then.
I thought it were alright, actually.
I thought there was some great tracks on it, I did, yeah.
But it were hyped up that much that they couldn't live up to what everyone were expecting them to do.
It ruins them. It ruins people, that. Now they're analysed because every track isn't a #1.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair, because I look at them and think, well, they're not going to get a chance. So what are you doing now?
Opening this.
Fucking hell, that's why, you know, he has a Liam Bibb him as well.
The end of...
I mean, come on. Be Here Now, it wasn't terrible. I mean, is it as great as Morning Glory or Definitely Maybe? No, but it's still a great album.
I feel like it's great for the complete opposite reasons as the other one was great. Like, it's just... Liam and Noel hit it on the head. Like, that's the reason. Liam was rock star. It just was rocky. No one gave a fuck. That's the way it went. That's the way he wanted it to sound. Noel was like, we were all on coke. It was not put together. It just came out like that, you know.
Right.
And it was just the mentality of both brothers. But hear me out on this. It's just their generation that they entered in with such an explosion got older. They got older.
Yeah.
They all got older. They all did shit. They all had to get jobs. You know what I mean? Like they all had to be part of the system.
I mean, it wasn't too far away. I mean, Definitely Maybe was 94, and Be Here Now was 97.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'm just saying,
change in 3 years.
In 3 years, it takes me 5 minutes to lose interest in something. I can get a life-changing job. I mean, a baby can be born in 9 months. Lots of stuff can change, you know, and it's just like you're like you keep saying, the flavor of the week, for that time.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's tough. It's tough. And the guy, oh man, the guy from Pulp, man, he really hit something. That
Jarvis?
Yeah, he just hit something that was just so deep, man. He wasn't the person he was singing about anymore. You know?
He changed.
Well,
He's part of celebrity culture now.
So it's just funny how like the songs that put you in the light, that made you relevant, are essentially no longer relevant because they made you famous. So the rest,
they made you a completely different person.
So the rest coming out, it's just not, it's not real. Because what do? Write songs from the before? You're not the before. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous to me. I mean, it was just an interesting concept that I want to explore on my own time, because I think there's something there to be said about music.
I mean, you're true. You can't write about being 18 when you're 30.
Yeah.
So
like Blink 182.
Exactly.
You know? Like, what's my age again? It's because they have Alzheimer's now. Like, it's a completely different thing.
Britpop was, if nothing else, was that Oasis third album, Be Here Now, which actually isn't the great disaster that everybody says. It's about, there are 2 or 3 really good songs on it, but it was supposed to be the big, big triumphal record. Labour got in, Oasis are preparing their big statement, and it comes out 3 or 4 days before Princess Di gets killed.
Mm.
The whole Britpop thing died quite quickly, and it left a huge gulf, and there was like a vacuum there that needed to be filled. And what happens with the music business, it has a default setting, and its default setting is pop music. And luckily for the music industry, that Robbie Williams was there to fill it. We were recording our last album, and Robbie was recording his first in the studio next door. Elton John was taking him to rehab the next day. And for whatever reason, he wanted like an indie band to come and listen to this record that he'd made, and he sort of dragged the whole band in to listen to his recording of Angels. And he said that he thought it was an 11 out of 10, which it was. And you sort of knew that this was kind of going to be the new force. That Robbie Williams making music kind of like Oasis. So once he was doing it, you knew it was over. That was the moment that it was finished.
What do you make of sort of Britain culturally at the moment? You know, what do you think it is? What kind of place it is to live at the moment?
2002.
So, I mean, it'd be easy to say it's very American, but I don't think it's quite true, you know. We've obviously kind of changed a lot in the last sort of 15, 20 years. I find it quite an anonymous place at the moment, you know, city to city. I don't feel, when I go to a place, that I feel a lot of that place anymore. It feels that there's an overall feeling of Britain, which is, everything is quite uniformed everywhere you go, everything's in the same place, all the sounds are the same. Everything's become so pop on one level, and so kind of calculated, which has worked, you know, in certain areas of the music business, obviously, because it's been going there for a good 6-7 years, this whole kind of karaoke, build your own band thing.
Actually, we were mixing the Hindu Times in Olympic Studios in London. And where the room is where we're doing this mixing is like a conservatory type thing, and there was all these kids doing their fucking dancing thing. And Liam and Andy Bell walked in, and I went, "Have you seen all them kids out there?" And he went, "Oh, you mean Junior S Club 7? And it took me 20 minutes to realise, how the fuck do you know what they're called? I thought they were just some kids from a special needs school who was hanging out in a fucking recording studio for the day because it was free food or something, you know. And they knew their names.
I don't mind S Club Juniors, they're alright, they're better than the fucking other ones. Good little kids, man.
And where did all this come from? Have you ever noticed now, when these fucking knobheads from Pop Idol, it's like all the boy bands or the girl bands, what does this mean? You know, what? I don't get that at all. All the choreographers have taken over the world, man. You know, everything's choreographed now, isn't it? It's fucking rubbish.
Imagine if what they feel about TikTok now.
Oh.
Like, how you can only make a song go if you are your own choreographer, or you copy what some random TikToker made into choreography. Yep. Like, yeah, choreographers do run the music industry now, but it's homespun choreographers.
Very true.
Still shit.
Still shit. But yeah.
I was in LA a few weeks ago, and I was in a restaurant, and Simon Fuller, who is one of the conspirators behind Pop Idol, came up to me and I said, "Oh, hello. All right. Lovely to meet you." And he said, I said, "Well, what are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, well, we're just finalising our deals to bring Pop Idol to America." And I went, "Oh, great. That's really good news."
What was it?
So I mean, we know, you know, I suppose we've got to give them something, haven't they? They're kind of given us a heck of a lot.
So why Oasis? Why not Blur?
Woo! Well, I feel like woo! So that's why not.
Liam started believing everything that was written in the NME about him. It was a good couple of weeks that he was talking in a Scouse accent. Now, I'm all for madness in rock music, you know, and I'm all for surrealism, but he was trying to convince me that, you know, I should call him John.
There was lots of weird things going on. There was like this bloke who kind of dressed, the bottom half of him was female and the top half was male. He was quite strange. He gave us some wood for a bonfire once.
Me and our kid had a bit of a scuffle. And I come home with a broken arm, broken leg and a shotgun on my shoulder. And my mum goes, "What fucking kind of music are you making down there?"
Yeah, a hell of a documentary,
It really was
man.
good. It was good.
It's really informative. Get another piece of the puzzle that we now have.
Yep.
For that, I say 2 thumbs up.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's like that part about when Be Here Now came out, and then a couple days later, Princess Diana died. Like, that is some of the worst timing ever.
Yep.
Like, not only the fact that, you know, Be Here Now was a bit overblown and not up to snuff with Morning Glory and Definitely Maybe. Like, that wasn't good for Britpop.
No, it wasn't
at all,
man.
No, but now we know what killed it.
Yeah,
is Robbie Williams and that girl group.
It's just funny to think that something that was so epic, so legendary, was brought down by Robbie Williams and the girl version of Hanson. Like,
yeah,
like, damn, dude. And like,
sucks,
sucks, like, because I know that there are people that were just in their feels, in those moments, in those concerts, like, this will never end, this is forever. And then there's this one chick with choreography with a bunch of other people, and that's the downfall. And
yeah, it sure was.
That's where we are now.
Anyway, y'all let us know what y'all think down below.
Definitely.
We want to thank today's sponsor, Lloyd Guitars. Are you a guitar player and you want a nice, high-quality guitar that the greats like B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Noel Gallagher, John Lennon have all played, but it just seems a little bit out of reach price-wise? Look no further than Lloyd Guitars. They make guitars with the same material that the greats of Gibson and all other big guitar manufacturers make, but at an affordable price.
Oh yeah.
One that's accessible to the common everyday folk. They sent us their SD001 model of guitar and a bass, which we'll get to in a second. You can just hear the warmth in
it's
that,
nice.
right?
It's pretty.
Yeah. I mean, just look at this thing. It's got the Brixby on there. This neck just plays really smoothly.
It just sounds nice, man. It sounds warm. I like it.
Yeah. 14 layers of paint applied over 3 days with bridges and pickups that stand out. Hand sanded fretboard like there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Look at that. It's ready to rock and roll, man.
You're ready. Yeah, I know that when we talk, he's always playing this thing.
Yeah.
You know, he's just fiddling around with it. It's awesome.
I've been playing it on stream. Like when we do the restream thing.
Yeah, you can't separate this guitar from him.
We have the JD001 bass guitar, violin bass, based off of the basses made famous by Sir Paul McCartney himself. Look at that.
Oh, man,
it's
nice.
just a warm sound right there.
Heck yeah. I got my new instrument cut out for me.
Yep. This is all Daniel right here. And look, man, these should easily be, $4,000-$5,000 guitars and basses. Yeah. But you go online and they're not any more than about 600 pounds. How can you beat that for this level of quality here?
Yeah, pay for what you get, and you get a lot more than what you pay for. That's what it looks like, and that guitar is beautiful. This bass is beautiful, and it sounds nice and warm, and everything you want a bass or a guitar to sound like, it does.
This is gonna put rock and roll and just guitar-based music back into the hands of where it belongs, the common everyday folk. I just feel like that's what discourages people from pursuing guitar-based music, is the instruments like these that are high quality are really expensive.
Yes.
So to the folks at Lloyd Guitars, Highwell, everybody else, thanks for making a great product. Thanks also for giving our audience 50 pounds off of their purchase. Use the promo codes right there on the screen. It's also linked down in the description to get 50 pounds off of your purchase of one of these bad boys.
Can't beat that, guys.
Yeah. Thanks again to Lloyd Guitars for sponsoring this portion of today's episode.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. Catch you in the next one, and
unplug and do something epic, guys.
But wait till you turn your amp off first.
Yes.
Like that.
Like that.
See y'all next time.
Later.